What if the speed of light was slower than sound? Imagine thunder arriving before lightning. Imagine hearing your friend's voice across the street before you could even see them. Imagine the whole universe moving in slow motion flashes. Welcome to iPhology. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us a lot and encourages us to keep bringing you more mind-bending content. Alright, let's dive in. Right now, light is the fastest thing we know. It moves at about 300,000 kilometers per second. So fast it can travel around Earth more than 7 times in just 1 second. Meanwhile, sound trudges along at only 343 meters per second in air. That's almost 1,000,000 times slower. This speed gap is why you see lightning before you hear thunder, and why astronauts in space can hear explosions, because there is no air for sound to travel through. But what if we flip the script? What if light slowed down so much that it lagged behind sound? At first, this might sound like a neat trick, but in reality, it would turn our entire world upside down. Let's start small with your daily life. If light traveled slower than sound, your senses would get completely scrambled. You'd hear things before you saw them. Someone clapping across a room. You'd hear the clap instantly, but you'd have to wait for the light to crawl over and show you their hands coming together. Movies, sports, even crossing the street would feel like living inside a badly dubbed film. Now imagine a thunderstorm. You'd hear the rumble of thunder first. Loud, terrifying, and seemingly coming from nowhere. Only after a delay would you see the flash of lightning strike. It would feel like reality was constantly glitching. But the weirdness doesn't stop there. Our entire understanding of physics depends on the speed of light being the cosmic speed limit. In Einstein's theory of relativity, light is the maximum speed that anything, information, energy, or matter can travel. If light suddenly slowed down below sound speed, then sound would become the universe's new speed limit. That would break physics as we know it. For one, the structure of spacetime itself depends on the constant speed of light. Slow that down, and relativity collapses. GPS satellites would fail, time dilation wouldn't work the same way, and the universe itself might look completely different. And here is something even stranger. You wouldn't even see reality the way you do now. Your vision depends on light bouncing off objects and hitting your eyes. If sound was faster, you'd constantly hear things before you could even process what they look like. Seeing a moving car or a baseball would be nearly impossible, because by the time the light reached your eyes, the object would already be gone. So in this new world, we'd be almost blind, relying on hearing instead of sight as our dominant sense. Humanity itself might evolve differently, maybe with sonar-like abilities, more like bats or dolphins. And that's just the beginning. Because if light was slower than sound, the entire universe would look like a horror movie running on lag. So far, we've seen how your daily life would turn into a glitchy nightmare if light crawled slower than sound. But the real chaos begins when we zoom out to technology, space, and the universe itself. Let's start with communication. Right now, light-speed signals carry our internet, phone calls, and TV broadcasts across fiber optics and satellites. If light slowed down, all of that would fall apart. Your video call wouldn't just lag, it would be delayed by seconds, maybe minutes. Global communication networks would break down completely. In fact, radio waves, which are just another form of light, would also be affected. That means airplanes couldn't use radar properly. GPS navigation would fail, and even your Wi-Fi at home would crawl at speeds worse than dial-up in the 90s. The modern world would go silent and dark. Now imagine astronomy. When we look up at the stars, we're really looking back in time, seeing light that traveled for thousands or millions of years to reach us. If light moved slower than sound, those cosmic messages would take impossibly longer. You might hear the cosmic background hum of the universe long before you ever saw the faint glow of a galaxy. The night sky wouldn't sparkle, it would echo. You'd hear space before you could see it. But here's the problem. Space is a vacuum, which doesn't carry sound at all. So if light was slower than sound, the universe might seem eerily quiet and invisible to us, because the faster medium, sound, simply wouldn't exist in space. In other words, we'd lose our eyes to the cosmos. But the weirdest consequence comes from relativity itself. Einstein showed that light's speed shapes everything, from time to gravity. If sound replaced light as the cosmic speed limit, Relativity would bend into nonsense. Black holes, which depend on trapping light, might not even exist. Instead of collapsing into invisible singularities, stars might explode differently, scattering their energy across space in ways we can't even imagine. And what about the Big Bang? Our universe began with a flash of light, expanding outward at incredible speed. If light had been slower than sound, the early universe might never have formed galaxies and stars the way it did. The universe could be a dark, chaotic mess, with sound waves echoing through the void, but no shining stars to guide them. Now, let's bring it back to Earth for a moment. If humans grew up in a world where sound outran light, our very biology would change. Eyes might evolve more like backup sensors, while our ears would become our main survival tools. We might see the world using echolocation, like bats or dolphins, mapping our surroundings by sound instead of vision. Cities would be designed for acoustics, not lights. Music and soundscapes would dominate culture, while visual art might barely exist. Instead of movie theaters, we'd gather for massive sound performances, stories told entirely through audio. So what would happen if the speed of light was slower than sound? Reality itself would be unrecognizable. Our world would be darker, glitchier, and ruled by sound instead of sight. Physics would break, the universe would collapse into chaos, and humanity would have evolved into something almost alien. And maybe that's the strangest thought of all. Our very identity depends on light being faster. Without it, the story of life, Earth, and the cosmos would be completely rewritten. So, maybe we should be glad the universe chose light as its ultimate speed champion. Because without it, we'd be lost in the dark, chasing echoes instead of chasing stars. This was iPhology. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more brain-bending science. Until next time, keep imagining the impossible.